A Nonprofit Job Guide 3. Chapter 1. Some NGO Jobs 1. Get a master's in public administration to work in education administration or any kind of government administration. naspa.org/students/FAQ/MPA/MPP_degrees_1.asp naspa.org/students/careers/careers.asp naspa.org/students/resources/financial.asp naspa.org/socialmedia/index.asp naspa.org/students/FAQ/FAQ.asp publicservicecareers.org naspa.org/students/careers/joblinks.asp naspa.org/students/careers/salary.asp naspa.org/students/careers/service.asp naspa.org/students/careers/state_fellowship.asp naspa.org/students/internships.asp naspa.org/students/resources/journals.asp publicservicecareers.org ajb.dni.us rcjobs.com usajob.gov usajob.gov/students&grads icma.org/en/icma/career_network/home idealist.org cof.org philanthropy.com nptimes.com opportunitynox.org Nonprofit administration job websites idealist.org volunteermatch.org score.org/volunteer United We Serve serve.gov Corporation for National and Community Service nationalservice.gov International Journal of Volunteer Administration ijova.org The International Journal of Volunteer Administration ijova.org jobs.cof.org careers.councilofnonprofits.org careerbuilder.com/jobs-director-of-volunteer-services Council for Certification in Volunteer Administration epub 467 Midlothian, Virginia 23113-0467 804-794-8689 info@cvacert.org cvacert.org Council on Foundations 2121 Crystal Drive No. 700 Arlington, Virginia 22202-3706 800-673-9036 cof.org Foundation Center 32 Old Slip, 24th floor New York, New York 10005 800-424-9836 foundationcenter.org National Council of Nonprofits 1001 G Street, NW, number 700E Washington, D.C. 20001-4544 202-962-0322 councilofnonprofits.org American Public Human Services Association 810 1st Street NE Suite 500 Washington, D.C. 20002-4267 202-682-0100 APHSA.org National Association of Social Workers 750 1st STNE, STE 700 Washington, D.C. 20002-4241 800-742-4089 Community Development Career Community development is the development and revitalization of an economically distressed community, both rural and urban in any and all ways led by the altruistic people who want to help better life in that community. It's made up of grassroots, government, and for-profit projects and needs leaders to deal with the community government and other forces like the local chamber of commerce to try to get funding and other aid. The work spans the spectrum from building a youth center to providing adequate low-cost housing to starting a bank in order to give business loans to the local community. You may have to volunteer in your church or in your community first, get to know some people, get some administrative education, then network into a job. The best majors in college for this type of work are nonprofit management, business administration, public administration, community economic development, real estate development, social work, urban planning, public policy, and urban affairs. You have to be an idealist with a liberal/Democrat heart who wants to improve the community in order to succeed at this job. You won't get rich at it unless you're corrupt, but you will have plenty of liberal activist friends. If you like to work with people, especially the downtrodden in the poor part of town, this line of work is for you. Look at community development as a more politically correct term than community activism. There are federal government jobs in this field, such as with the Department of Housing and Development, HUD.gov. Try number 307.15, HM131, or HN90 at the library. Schools that offer business and public administration or social work are quite common. Most major universities offer these programs. Some other ones are as follows. Most are graduate master's programs. CAIonline.org, Community Associations Institute. NBCChem.org, National Board of Certification for Community Association Managers. bsos.umd.edu/ursb, Urban Studies. calories.cornell.edu/department/cardi, Community and Rural Development. cdtech.org, Community Development Technology. Center Los Angeles. dcrp.ced.berkeley.edu, Regional Planning. dtinational.org, Development Training Institute. enterprisefoundation.org, Community Development. evans.washington.edu, Public Affairs. fau.edu/academic/ccr/urban.hdm, Urban End. Public Affairs, Florida Atlantic U. heinz.cmu.edu, Public Policy and Management. enom.org, Institute for Nonprofit Management. San Francisco. louisville.edu/urbanaff.hdm, Urban Affairs. maxwell.syr.edu, Citizenship and Public Affairs. merlin.nhc.edu, Community Economic Development Program. mit.edu/afs/athena.mit.edu/org/c/cre/www, Real Estate Development. mit.edu/dusby, Urban Studies and Planning. ncdiaonline.org/cdti, Community Development Training Institute. newschool.edu/milano, Urban Policy. nwu.edu/ipr/abcd.html, Community Development. nyu.edu/wagner, Public Service School NYU. policy.rutgers.edu/upd, Planning and Public Policy. pratt.edu/arch/gcpe, Planning and the Environment. rmi.org, Courses on Sustainable Community Economic Development. soeb.uci.edu, School of Social Ecology. sfsu.edu/urbs2, Urban Studies. ssc.msu.edu/urp, Urban and Regional Planning. Michigan. temple.edu/gus/graduate.html, Urban Studies. tufts.edu/as/uep, Urban and Environmental Policy. udel.edu/suapp/ct, CommunityDevil.htm, Urban Affairs and Public Policy. uic.edu/cuppa/up, Urban Planning and Public Affairs. uml.edu/department/resd, Regional Economic and Social Development. unc.edu/departments/dcrp, Regional Planning. unc.edu/departments/pubpol, public policy. upa.pdx.edu, Portland State U, Urban Studies and Planning. urban.csuohio.edu, City Management and Urban Policy. urban.uiuc.edu. usc.edu/schools/sbpd, School of Policy, Planning and Development. uvm.edu/cdae/department, Community Development and Applied Economics. Community Development Resources. acorn.org, Community Organizations for Reform Now. alternate.org, Alternative Media. alternativelinks.com. apple.com/allot, Library of Tomorrow. artswire.org. aspenzeast.com, American Communities. boulder.co.us/community/resources. calmeadow.com. ccdia.org, Christian Community Development Association. cdinet.com, Communications. cdt.org, Democracy and Technology. cdvca.org, Community Development Venture. Capital Alliance. c2c.org, Community Economic Development Assistance Corp. ced.ns.ca. sedworks.com, Center for Community Enterprise, sells books on the subject. cfed.org, Corporation for Enterprise Development. cfin.org, Child/Family Interactive Network. city.net. civic.net. cnt.org, Center for Neighborhood Technology. comm-dev.org, Community Development Society. comm-org.utoledo.edu, Community Organizing. communitycapital.org. communitychange.org. contact.org. coop.org. coop.org/ICA, International Coop Alliance. CASCDA.org, Council of State Community Development Agencies. CPSR.org, Computer Programmers for Social Responsibility. CRFUSA.com, 800-475-3050, Community Reinvestment Fund. CSH.org, Corp. For Supportive Housing. CSN.net, Community Stories. EFF.org, Electronic Frontier Foundation. EnterpriseFoundation.org. Envirolink.org. ESIC.org, Enterprise Social Investment Corporation, Nonprofit Housing. Essential.org. EWG.org, Environment. gov.ns.ca/ecor/pub/sedguide. Grassrootsonline.org. Fair.org, Fairness in Media. FED.org. Habitat.org, Habitat for Humanity, builds houses for poor people. Home.net. HRDA-LTD.ns.ca. ICA-GROUP.org, Businesses in Low-Income Areas. IGC.org, Global Communications. Islandpress.org, Relevant Books. ix.net/cix, Community Networking. Librarynet.org. ListCnet.org, Local Initiatives Support Coalition. LivingDemocracy.org. MacFDN.org, MacArthur Foundation. Merino.org. NACAA.org, Community Action Agencies. NACCA.org, National Association for County Community and Economic Development. NATO.org, National Association of Development Organizations. NCBN.org, National Community Building Network. NCDAonline.org, National Community Development Association. NCHM.org, Housing Management ncook.k12.il.us, Community Model. ncrc.org, National Community Reinvestment Coalition. ndc-online.org, National Development Council. nedlc.org, Economic Development and Law Center. nefinc.org, National Equity Fund, Low Income Housing Tax Credits. neighborhoodcoalition.org. nptn.org, Public Telecomputing Network. nw.org, Neighbor Works. oup.org, 800-245-2691, Work Study Program. With HUD. pbs.org, Public TV. PolicyLink.org. Privacy.org. rcac.org, Rural Community Assistance Corp. rdfc.org, Rural Development and Finance Corp. sanetwork.org, Sustainable America. scn.org, Sustainable Seattle. scn.org/ip/commnet, Community Network. Movement. Socialcompact.org, mission is to get corporations to help poor neighborhoods. Socialinvestment.ca. umich.edu/community. urban.org. washington.edu/research/communai. Tintworks. well.com/www/cmty. wnia.org, What's New in Activism. womensednet.ns.ca. woodstockinsd.org. Community Economic Development Career. corporateinformation.com, Canadian Corporate Information. vtaid.com/png/eric/life-work.htm, career development for meaningful life work. familiesanwork.org. monster.ca, help with interviewing techniques. nbia.org, National Business Incubation Association. lifework.ca, help people of all ages become self-reliant. workink.com, Virtual Employment Resource Center mission is to facilitate communication and provide resources and information to enhance the equitable and meaningful employment of people with disabilities. CanadianSedNetwork.org, enhance community capacity for revitalization and self-reliance. uex.edu/ces/cced, Center for Community Economic Development. sedworks.com, Community Enterprise. sfu.ca/sedc, Center for Sustainable Community Development. enterweb.org/community.htm, Community Economic Development. National Congress for Community Economic Development. 877-446-2233. 202-289-9020. ncced.org. Nonprofit organization committed to the development of economically distressed rural and urban communities. Chapter 2. Some NGO jobs too. Try a temporary nonprofit job. nationalservice.gov. americaps.org. cityyear.org. teachforamerica.org. peacecorps.gov. rpcv.org. Biweekly Job Listing Bulletin Hotline, a bulletin of opportunities for returned Peace Corps volunteers. Gap year websites. Gap year refers to the time after high school where some people choose to travel and experience life rather than going to college right away. It seems more popular in Europe than in America, where the people are brainwashed to get on a career track right away. GAPYEAR365.com LLT.UEA.ac.uk/year_abroad/further_info/general_advice.htm. adm-is.fas.harvard.edu/time off. EUR026.org, Student Card. gap.org.uk. admissions.college.harvard.edu/apply/time_off/index.html, timeout or burnout for the next generation. gapwork.com. gapeyear.com. globetrotters.co.uk, Travel Club. Horizon.cosmopolite.com. Independent.co.uk, Gap Year Guide on the website. Interimprograms.com. isco.org.uk. kgap.co.uk, Knowledge Gap. leapnow.org. lifelonglearning.co.uk. lonelyplanet.com/gapeyear. objectivegapsafety.com. piaway.co.uk, travel ads. petersons.com. takingoff.net. transitionsabroad.com. vacationwork.co.uk. yearoutgroup.org. youthinformation.com. Nonprofit RSS job feeds sent to you. idealist.org/if/idealist/en/rss/rss/default, email alerts for your job keywords. Nonprofit architecture job websites. awb.iohome.net, Architects Without Borders. enterprisefoundation.org. designcorps.org. communitydesign.org, Community Design Centers Around the World. usgbc.org, U.S. Green Building Council. greenerbuildings.com, Sustainable Design Environmental Works. eworks.org. idealist.org. devjobsmail.com. bsr.org, Business for Social Responsibility. sustainablebusiness.com. Nonprofit Recruiters. wbbmccormick.com. Chapter 3. Advocacy Work. Advocacy in Activism. Civil rights are basic, inalienable human rights granted to all persons in America via the Constitution, Bill of Rights and many other state and federal laws. The United Nations has a Charter of Rights for all people, but many countries ignore it and use their own laws. Very basically, rights are the following: freedom of religion, freedom of expression, right to privacy, right to peaceful assembly, right to bear arms, right to due process in a court of law, right to equal protection, right to legal counsel, right to travel freely, right not to receive cruel and unusual punishment. Some people get beyond capitalism enough to want to better the world somehow, which is better than being a selfish, self-centered, self-gratifying consumer who wants it all and wants it now, the way the corporate forces brainwash us to be. Just watch the push to make you feel like a moron if you don't take shopping seriously around Christmas time. If you want to be an activist, beware of committing libel, publicly spreading untruths about a person, corporation, or organization. The second thing you could be charged for is publicly presenting private facts, even if they're true, because you could be imposing on someone else's or some corporation's right to privacy. Books about activism are at number 323.69 or JC571 at the library. Books about community development are at number 307.1 or HN90HN131. Try number 300, number 307 for books on alternative ideas. Try number 333 for books on the environment. Advocacy in politics. Advocates and activists are generally idealists who believe in a cause, like how the depletion of the ozone layer is destroying the planet, so they will usually volunteer at a non-profit organization dedicated to this cause and parley it into a job over time. However, there are hired guns out there, especially at the federal political level, often called lobbyists, who could work for any corporation or organization with the agenda of helping to pass or kill whatever they want done to serve their interests to the bills that pass through Congress and the Senate. Many former politicians become lobbyists/advocates. It's who you know. If you have connections among the politicians, you can wine and dine them and offer them favors in order to get them to vote your way. You don't go to school for this job. You work around politics for a while, then if somebody likes you, they might ask you to lobby for them. Professionally. Advocacy Institute. 1629 K St. N.W. Number 200. Washington, D.C. 20006-1629. 202-777-7577. Fax, 202-777-7577. 7575. Publications at advocacy.org. Advocacy.org. Take action. There is always a moment in any kind of struggle when one feels in full bloom. Vivid. Alive. To be such a person or to witness anyone at this moment of transcendent presence is to know that what is human is linked, by a daring compassion, to what is divine. During my years of being close to people engaged in changing the world, I have seen fear turn into courage, sorrow into joy, funerals into celebrations. Because whatever the consequences, people, standing side by side, have expressed who they really are and that ultimately they believe in the love of the world and each other enough to be that. Alice Walker, Anything We Love Can Be Saved, a writer's activism. The following websites provide general information about taking action for what you believe in. 2020vision.org, abc-clio.com, 800-368-6868, The Radicalism Handbook, Radical Activists, Groups and Movements of the 20th Century by John Button. boardc.org/tools. bsr.org, Businesses for Social Responsibility. ctb.lsi.ugans.edu. developmentbookshop.com. donorleaders.org. enviroweb.org/radix. foe.org/takeaction. greenpeaceusa.org/takeaction. endrinstitute.org, Start an Initiative. mightmedia.com. nonprofits.org/npofaq/03/21, Mission Statements. nrdc.org/action. protest.net. publicampaign.org. takeaction.worldwildlife.org. thepttonsite.com. un.org/pubs. usconstitution.net, Start a Constitutional Amendment. volunteermatch.com. youthactionnet.org. Contact federal politicians. If you want to contact federal politicians, refer to the following information. The White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, NW. Washington, D.C. 20500. 202-456-1111, comments. 202-456-1414, switchboard. 202-456-2121, visitor's office. 202-456-6213, TTY/TDD. Fax, 202-456-2461. president@whitehouse.gov. vice.president@whitehouse.gov. whitehouse.gov. firstgov.gov/contact, Federal Government Network. house.gov, Congress. clerk.house.gov, addresses and phone numbers of members of Congress. house.gov/writer-EP, contact your representative in Congress. senate.gov/general/contact information/senators_cfm.cfm. Chapter 4. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit has about 30 articles on nonprofit jobs. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit, the website. facebook.com/jobmonkeyjobs. twitter.com/jobmonkeynews. youtube.com/user/jobmonkeyjobs. pinterest.com/jobmonkey. linkedin.com/company/jobmonkey-inc. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/environment. jobmonkey.com/linkout/22538. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/not-for-profit. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/operations. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/working-nonprofit. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/human-services. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/education. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/arts-jobs. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/faith-based. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/healthcare. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/myths. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/grant-writing. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/direct-service. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/executive-director. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/private-foundations. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/arts-organizations. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/healthcare-positions. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/resume. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/career-success. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/work-culture. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/job-boards. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/volunteer. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/internship-fellowship. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/graduate-degrees. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/best-cities. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/job-interviews. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/start-nonprofit. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/fundraising. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/grant-proposals. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/board-of-directors. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/tools-technology. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/501c3-status. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/red-cross-jobs. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/doctors-without-borders. jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/greenpeace-jobs. A grant writing article at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/grant-writing. A short article. An article on becoming a nonprofit organization in the U.S. at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/501c3-status. It's a short article. They refer you to the info at irs.gov. Type of nonprofit degrees at college at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/graduate-degrees. MBA Masters in Business Administration. MPM Masters in Nonprofit Management/Public Management. MPP/MPA Masters in Public Policy/Public Administration. MUP Masters in Urban Planning. MSW Masters in Social Work. Some nonprofit job boards at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/job-boards. Idealist.org. foundationcenter.org/pnd/jobs, Foundation Center. OpportunityKnox.org, Opportunity Knox. cgcareers.com, Common Good Careers. Craigslist.org. Some internships at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/internship-fellowship. Paid internships with nonprofit organizations. IIE.org, Institute for International Education. If you are a student interested in international development, you should definitely check out the Institute for International Education. VolunteerHouston.org/programs/Shell, Shell Nonprofit Internship Program. Shell works with local Houston environmental nonprofit organizations to offer paid nonprofit internships to college students. StudioMuseum.org/public-programs/internships. Studio Museum in Harlem. The Studio Museum in Harlem, New York combines education and the arts with its paid summer internship program. EducationPioneers.org, Education Pioneers. Education Pioneers works with graduate students in business, law, and public policy who are committed to urban education reform. EchoingGreen.org, Echoing Green. The Echoing Green Public Service Fellowship is a unique leadership opportunity for young professionals or recent graduates with an innovative approach to a social problem. nationalgrid.com/commitment/D4-1_award.asp, the Samuel Huntington Public Service Award. The Samuel Huntington Public Service Award is a unique fellowship opportunity for graduating seniors to serve for 1 year at any public service organization abroad. jobmonkey.com/internships/paid-unpaid-internships, paid internships and fellowships that you can find if you are interested in joining the nonprofit workforce. Some nonprofit job websites from jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/human-services. SalvationArmyUSA.org. Salvation Army is a large, national social and human service organization that offers disaster relief, drug and alcohol rehabilitation, and youth and adult camping activities. CoalitionForTheHomeless.org/Coalition for the Homeless based in New York City offers housing, food programs, eviction prevention, and advocacy for those living in poverty and homeless in NYC. FSASF.org/Watwedo.html, Family Service Agency of San Francisco offers programs to at-risk children, adults, and seniors living in San Francisco. APHSA.org, American Public Human Services Organization, AFSA, works to develop practices and procedures for people and nonprofit organizations working in human services. NationalHumanServices.org, National Organization for Human Services serves as a support to existing human and social services, offering professional development opportunities to human service workers, assisting with communication strategies, and helping to promote financial stability. Some useful NGO websites at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/tools-technology. GuideStar.org, GuideStar is an incredibly handy research tool for nonprofits. NTEN.org, NTEN is the nonprofit technology network. TechSoup.org, TechSoup is a source for new nonprofits in need of technology. Facebook.com, Facebook. Twitter.com. Idealist.org, Idealist is not just for the job search. Jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/education, education-related nonprofit jobs. HCZ.org, Harlem Children's Zone/Promise Academy is a local children's organization that has found great success at encouraging children to begin the path to college at an early age. The agency offers encouragement to youth in underserved communities in New York City, who may not have access to college preparation and other out-of-school activities. KIP.org, KIP, Knowledge is Power Program, is a national network of charter schools committed to changing the way that children go to school through structured school days, politeness, and interventions from pre-K through the 12th grade. YAI.org, YI/National Institute for People with Disabilities offers early education opportunities, through its own schools, for young children with emotional disabilities. Jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/environment nonprofit jobs. SierraClub.org, Sierra Club is the oldest, largest, most influential grassroots environmental organization in the United States. They coordinate outings for adults and children, particularly those in inner cities who don't have access to wilderness, and they are active advocates for the environment to various government agencies. Greenpeace.org/USA, Greenpeace is another national organization, and a controversial one at that uses creative confrontation to educate the public about threats to the environment. NA.Oceana.org, Oceana is a more specialized environmental nonprofit organization that administers programs specifically to protect the world's oceans. NRDC.org, National Resources Defense Council is a great resource for anyone interested in environment issues, and has a listing of all of the major environmental organizations in the United States on its nrdc.org/reference/environgroups.asp, website. Jobmonkey.com/parks, outdoor employment section of JobMonkey. Jobmonkey.com/summercamps/camp_counselor_interview, summer camp counselors and supervisors. Jobmonkey.com/parks/environmental_jobs, environmental jobs out there. Jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/arts-jobs, arts jobs. Metmuseum.org. artsharela.org. societyforarts.com/general.htm. Jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/arts-organizations. A list of arts organizations at jobmonkey.com/nonprofit/arts-organizations. Jobs.artsearch.us, artsearch.us. NewYorkFA.org/opportunities.asp, New York Foundation for the Arts. JobBank.artsusa.org/search.cfm, Americans for the Arts Job Bank. Jobs with faith-based nonprofit organizations at jobmonkey.com/faith-based jobs. HumeLake.org, Hume Lake Christian Camps. Hume Lake Christian Camps is a year-round camp and retreat center for Christian youth and adults. CatholicCharities.org, Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities is the largest network of social services organizations in the United States, and is committed to reducing poverty, supporting families, and building communities. SalvationArmyUSA.org, The Salvation Army. The Salvation Army is one of the largest and most well-known faith-based social services organizations in the country. JobMonkey.com/faith-based jobs/pastor. JobMonkey.com/nonprofit/healthcare, healthcare nonprofit jobs. JobMonkey.com/nonprofit/healthcare/gnhc.org, Good Neighbor Healthcare. Good Neighbor Healthcare is a community-based nonprofit organization in Houston, Texas, which seeks to expand the availability of healthcare services to people living in the greater Houston area. AmericanHeart.org, American Heart Association. The American Heart Association is one of the most recognizable names in nonprofit healthcare. DoctorsWithoutBorders.org, Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders combines healthcare nonprofit work with international aid.